Howdy guys, Jimmy Song here. In this video, I'm going to talk about the economics of Bitcoin SV in particular, because they did split off from Bitcoin ABC, and there's a lot of different things, but they have their own particulars that I want to explore a little bit. So let's take a look at the current situation in terms of hash rate and so on, and then we can go into a little bit of an economic analysis. It is much more profitable right now to mine on Bitcoin SV. And this is due to price difficulty, block reward, and so on. And they generally have less proof of work and so on. So at some point, despite like CoinGeek having like 30% of the hash rate, they're not necessarily protecting, quote unquote, their network. They are just there's actually less less people mining on Bitcoin SV than there are on Bitcoin. There should be something of a discount anyway, and I think Bitcoin Cash is reflecting that slight discount, and that discount should be related to liquidity, because you can't really get rid of Bitcoin SV quite as easily as you can Bitcoin, and that's obviously the main alternative here, BSV versus BTC. Anyway, here's the thing about that profitability number. If it's that much more profitable, there's going to be a lot of miners coming in. And the block reward right now is 12.5 on their chain, and it is the price is $92.65. So that is like, I don't know, $1,100 or something like that. That's not very much. You're not making very much on a per block basis, and that also means that like on a 6-block basis, it's also not that much. I covered this in the other video with Bitcoin ABC, but a 6-block reorg, they don't even have checkpoints. So that means that you really could reorg their chain, like 20 blocks or something like that for a reasonably cheap amount. 20 blocks times $1,100 is what, $22,000. You just have to have a double spend that's like twice as much, 3 times as much, however many tries it's going to take to like at least break even or something like that. You could possibly make a ton of money. And it depends on like how long exchanges take to go and do that, and whether or not you can rent that kind of hash power on a close to par basis, without any questions asked. But if you are a pool that has a significant amount of, or like an individual with a significant amount of hash power, this might not be a bad way to get out, because you'd be the first out, right? You mine a bunch, and you'd be giving up some of that block reward, so it'd be like $22,000 or something. Or I'm actually, you get it, but you'd sink the coin, so that would be something. But you can sort of cash out your Bitcoin SV for like $22,000, and you can just absolutely dump the market, get out, and then reorg. And they don't have checkpoints, so that means that that's entirely possible, and you could do it very. You can have a 50-block reorg if you want. I'm not sure what the logic is in their code, but I assume it's not like Bitcoin ABCs where they completely centralize it. So I mean, in a sense, it's kind of a gutsy move, a ballsy move, because they're letting the market decide, and if they get attacked, they get attacked, that sort of thing. But that said, the economics of the situation get worse over time, because they have just absolutely gigantic blocks. And there are no like fees in the future unless they somehow raise the network minimum or something like that. At which point, like that would again be like more expensive than like Bitcoin and so on. So there's no real reason for it. They like Bitcoin ABC. They sacrificed the high end transactions in order to accommodate the low end transactions. So it's fairly safe if you're going to transact $500. Or under. But if you are doing anything like $10,000 or over, like the real store value transactions, you're going to have a rough time like believing it, especially like a couple years from now, maybe 6 years from now. I suspect that Bitcoin SV will drop like another 90% from here in the next year or two. So I mean, like at that point, it's like $10 and it's like 6.25 reward. That's like $70, right? Like for a for per block, it's going to it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty because you can do like a 100 block reorg for fairly cheap, assuming that they're still on SHA-256, double SHA-256. So what are some of the things that they might do? Well, they might introduce inflation again, right? Like, so this is a pretty straightforward path. They can say, well, the reward will stay 12 and a half forever, or we will increase rewards over time. And this would be like a central bank quantitatively easing, right? Printing money in order to, support their economy or the miners or whatever. And that would sort of subsidize everybody and make their chain more secure, but it'll also cause their coin to go down because they won't have credible scarcity anymore. Another option is to start checkpointing and centralizing in much the same way that Bitcoin ABC has. But that it's kind of hard because that's where they're competing against Bitcoin ABC. They don't have checkpoints. They don't have that centralization, and a lot of people have moved over to Bitcoin SV for that reason. So the fact that they're not hard forking constantly is kind of and not checkpointing and doing all these centralizing things is to them an advantage. So I'm not sure if there's much to be gained by doing something like that. I mean, there are drawbacks, and these are trade-offs that they're going to have to think about. But they have absolutely huge blocks. So, I mean, there are all sorts of DDoS or denial of service vulnerabilities and so on. So. Hard to say where it's going to go, but the economics of the situation are such that they are so easily attacked. And I can't imagine somebody not attacking them, especially if there's money involved. And, we will see some story at some point about like a 30 or 40 block reorg where somebody got double spent, a lot of money was lost. And then, they'll drop by 50%, something like that. I totally expect that to happen for Bitcoin ABC and Bitcoin SV. Well, not ABC because they have the checkpoints and all that stuff, but for Bitcoin SV in the next few years, if they don't put in something to sort of protect against it. But yeah, and obviously there's another solution, and that's to change the proof of work altogether. And in that case, they'll have to hard fork and they'll have to change a lot of other stuff. But I don't think you can really credibly call yourself Bitcoin at that point in any way, shape, or form. And they'll be relegated to one of the dustbins of altcoin history or hard fork history or whatever. So I mean, these are the tough choices sort of facing Bitcoin SV. The economic incentives don't really align very well. And the pressure on them is just going to continue to push that price down, I think. Anyway, hope that helps you. Let me know if you disagree. I know there's a lot of SV shills around. I'd love for you to explain yourself. Most of you just go, oh, well, you're wrong, Jimmy. No reasoning whatsoever. Well, if you're going to engage, at least engage with some argument. Come on. Like, I mean, yeah, you just calling names is just going to make me block you. Anyway, hope that helps you. This song is done.